And you've talked a lot about passion leading your career and being passionate and doing what you want to do. How do you translate that sort of living in the moment and that passion to other students? I mean, to say, live your passion, but what does that mean day to day, and how do you live that?
I think it's very important to have dreams, and we tend to think of dreams as something that children have, and that as adults we sort of discard our dreams, or if we have them, we don't share them with other people. And I think it's really important to have dreams, keep your dreams alive. Your dreams change with time, but to believe in yourself and your ability to achieve those dreams. And what you'll find is those dreams tend to align with areas that you're passionate about. So for me, I dreamt of being an astronaut, and I was very passionate about wanting to go to space and explore space. I was equally passionate about wanting to become a physician, to be able to work with patients in their times of need. And that passion is critical when you're sitting in the medical library and it's midnight on a Saturday night and you're closing the library down. It's important to be able to fuel your passion and your desire by thinking of the greater impact of what you're going to be able to do. And I think that's what's so exciting, to challenge students to think about what their dreams are, how those dreams align with their passions, and whether or not they really believe that they can be true to themselves in committing to do their best to achieve those dreams.
And finally, I want to ask you about some of the lessons you've learned. We hear a lot about leadership. I'd like to hear a bit about not only leadership, but followership that you talk about, because I would imagine possibly nowhere else is being a team where you can rely on your teammates more important than in space, where everyone's got to be on board and focused and supporting each other. So how does one become a good follower and a good team player?
In space we refer to this as a zero-fault tolerant environment. It's not an environment forgiving of error. To make sure that we're able to succeed, we have to work together flawlessly, seamlessly as a team. And that means every crew member on board the space shuttle or the space station has to be technically very competent, but they have to have a breadth of behavioral skills, competencies to be able to work in a team. They have to be effective leaders, and yet they also have to be effective followers. We have to bring all of the skills that we have to contribute to that team environment. At NASA, we're extensively trained in this, to be able to prepare for these missions on the long-duration International Space Station flights. We work for years training to develop our technical skills, but we're also trained in leadership. We're trained in followership skills. We're trained in how to work in a multicultural team environment. We're expected to bring positive energy to the space flight. And people say, what's that all about? It's the ability to emotionally create a positive environment in the team that you're working in. Sometimes, even in space, you might not wake up in a great mood in the morning. But here in space, you look out the window and you see the spectacular beauty of the Earth. You float over to the kitchen area and you look at your colleagues that you're out in space with, and you realize that this is such a unique opportunity. It's such an incredible environment to do research that, yes, that can emotionally fill you up and get you all excited, renew your passion to be able to explore this unique environment.
What space movies do you think are more real to to what your experience was, as opposed to sort of fanciful and not really based in reality?
There's all sorts of space movies that are very popular, and in fact, when I was a kid growing up, 2001 was arguably the space movie that got everybody excited about the concept of living and working in space. But for me, the most realistic was probably Apollo 13. And Tom Hanks, Ron Howard, they did an incredible job making sure that the movie was true to life. We've talked to Apollo astronauts and said, based on what you saw in the movie, was that what it was like riding a Saturn V vehicle? And they said yes. They magically captured what it was really like. But I had a chance to spend an afternoon with Tom Hanks in Star City, where we trained Russian cosmonauts outside of Moscow. They were in town, and Tom Hanks was filming the Moscow segment of the movie Castaways at that point. So he came out to Star City and we were chatting about this, and he was passionate about trying to recreate what it was really like. Both the drama of the situation, but the realism and the heroism of the astronauts of those days when they were sitting on top of those vehicles, going to the moon, thinking about walking around the surface of the moon, performing science, and then coming back to Earth was unbelievable.
And what are you left with when you think about Earth? You've looked at Earth, and what we always hear is that an astronaut's perspective allows you to see the fragility of Earth. What are you left with now, as you're now retired from the space program, so you're on Earth for the foreseeable future. How's your relationship with the planet changed, or does it fade over time? I mean, what's your sense of stewardship?
Yeah, one of the most remarkable things that happens when you're in space is you get a chance to join a small group of spacefaring humans and see the Earth from a totally different perspective. And it changes you. There's no question that the magnitude of the experience leaves a lasting impact on you. And it changes you in a couple of different ways. And one of them is a sense of planetary stewardship. The sense of a global village was coined in the 60s by Marshall McLuhan, talking about communication. Global village is perhaps more relevant today in the concept of pollution. And you can see pollution from one continent carried to another continent in the upper atmosphere. And you realize that the Earth is a very small planet, and we, the human species, need to learn how to take care of it, to develop this sense of planetary stewardship, to protect it for future generations. The other thing is, when you're flying in space and you're out doing a spacewalk, looking down 350 kilometers at the Earth traveling beneath you, you don't see any borders between countries. You see the beauty of the planet, the majesty of the planet. You can see all the continents, and you can identify countries by understanding their geography. But it makes you wonder why it is that we, the human species, can't seem to get along with each other, why conflict seems to be an inherent part of the human condition, and what we will need to do to be able to circum that, and to get to the point where we're all working together collaboratively, maintaining this sense of planetary stewardship, going forward and learning, creating knowledge-based societies that can seamlessly work with each other. And there are many different aspects to the overall impact of being in space, but I think it's a lifetime experience that will stay with me forever.
Thank you very much for your time. It's been most interesting.
My pleasure.